Hi, everyone. My name is Dennis Brown. I want to welcome you to another Freight Broker Bootcamp Live. Today, I have a very important update, okay? Very important. And it has to do with the new AB5 legislation. So the question is, will the new AB5 legislation cause the trucking industry to collapse? That's what we're going to talk about today, okay? So I'm going to share with you four key things you need to understand about AB5. All right. But before we get into that, okay, you joined me a little bit early here. I appreciate it. That means you're just early or you're interested in possibly picking up a cool prize because I am going to be giving away some cool prizes here. It's very, very simple. Play along, and who knows, maybe you'll get a chance to win one of the very coveted Freightpreneur t-shirts, someone who solves problems you don't know you have in the way you can't understand, or something like that. I think that's what it says. So so that's what we're going to be doing. So we're going to let some people get live here really quick, and then we're going to do a quick, maybe one or maybe two giveaways if we have time. And they'll be super, super simple. All right. You'll just have to follow some basic instructions in order to qualify. Then I'm going to randomly pick some people to win one of the Freightpreneur t-shirts. Maybe we'll be able to give two away if we have time. But as far as the update, I have a lot of notes. Okay. And it's very important that you guys stick around. So the format is going to be giveaway. Then I'm going to do the update and talk about AB5. And then we're going to do live Q&A at the end for anybody who has questions, whether that be about AB5 or becoming a freight broker or a freight agent or anything along the way. Okay. So that's where we're at. And we are going to, again, let a few people get live. And then we're going to dive into the giveaway. And then we are going to do the update. We're going to do the training, okay, where we're going to talk about a very important topic. And it's one that's very confusing to people. That's why I've decided to make this a topic for today, because a lot of people are confused. I'm getting a lot of questions. I'm seeing a lot of misinformation online. And I just want to try to clarify after doing several hours of research on it, so that I can bring you the real information as I see it today, okay? All right, so cool. All right, guys, so listen. If you want a chance to win, I'm going to do the first giveaway. If you want a chance to win the Freightpreneur t-shirt, someone who solves problems you don't know you have in ways you can't understand, here's all you got to do. All right. Apple users. I'm going to start with Apple users only. If you are an Apple iPhone user, so you have one of these things right here, Apple iPhone. Here's what I want you to do. Pull your iPhone out right now. Okay. Pull up the podcast app. It should be a purple app on the podcast on Apple. It's a little purple indication, or you can just search for podcast. Pull it up. And then what I want you to do is search for Freight Broker Bootcamp. And what you'll find is you're going to find Freight Broker Bootcamp podcast. It looks like that. You can't see it real well, but you'll see Freight Broker Bootcamp. You'll see my bald, shiny head. And all you have to do is this. Pay attention. Listen to what I say. You have to subscribe, rate, and review. It will take you 60 seconds. Subscribe, rate, and review the podcast, and then come back into the comments here and let me know I subscribed, rated, reviewed on Apple. Okay. If you do that, right? If you follow those instructions, you will qualify for the giveaway. Now, I'm going to pick one random user that's going to get the Freightpreneur t-shirt. All right. So if I get this done quickly, then we're going to also do another giveaway for some other people that are not on Apple. Okay. So pull out your iPhone right now. Like, subscribe, or subscribe, rate, and review. Subscribe, rate, and review on Apple. And you got to do a quick subscribe, rate, and review. And then come into the comments and let me know you did that. And I'm going to randomly pick one of you to win the Freightpreneur t-shirt. It will literally take you 60 seconds. So do it now. And then we're going to do the giveaway. Hopefully we'll be able to get a second giveaway for everybody else who's not an Apple user. But for now, that's what you got to do. There's a lot of Apple users out there. I would say that probably 80+% of the people that listen to the Freight Broker Bootcamp podcast listen on Apple. And it is the best of the best audio training that I've offered over the last decade. It's audio only. You can listen while you're riding your bike. You can listen while you're on the treadmill. You can listen while you're walking the dog. You can listen when you're laying by the pool. You can listen while you're driving. Those are all some of my favorite places to listen to different podcasts. And I hope they are for you too. And podcasts, believe it or not, are one of my favorite ways to consume content, right? So that's where we're at. Hit me up in the comments, just like a couple people are doing right now. But you got to, again, pull out your iPhone really quick. I'm going to give away one of these shirts in just a couple of minutes, but you've got to jump in there really quick and do the subscribe, rate, and review on Apple. Okay. So Faith Crawford did it. Awesome. Thank you so much. Sean Lemansky did it. Did it with his wife's phone. Awesome. Cool. That's perfect. Maybe she'll want to tune in. I'm assuming maybe you have an Android, Sean. So yeah, so do that really quick. We're going to do the giveaway. And then for everybody that's sticking around for today's update, today's training, today I'm going to share with you, will the new AB5 legislation cause the trucking industry to collapse? And I'm going to share with you 4 key things, 4 very important things you need to understand about AB5 that could impact your business. Okay, but I'm going to help you navigate this a little bit. I've done the research for you. I'm going to save you an enormous amount of time. I spent several hours researching this. That time I will never get back, but I wanted to share that piece of my brain with you so that you could benefit from it. Okay? All right, so yeah, everybody hates Android. No, podcast. The reason why podcast is so popular on Apple is because the podcast app, the Apple Podcast app is natively installed on Apple, meaning when you get a brand new iPhone, the podcast app is installed. With Android, you have to download a Spotify or download another app. And so it's not as heavily used, right? Like for example, Spotify is probably the second place that I get the most listeners because Spotify is just so popular for music. And then now people are starting to use it for podcasts. So, all right. Yeah, it'll say subscribe or follow. Okay. It'll either say subscribe or follow. Follow or subscribe is the same thing. Okay. So you'll still get notifications if you do hit the follow, right? So it should say follow or subscribe on Apple. All right. So we got a bunch of people that have done that. We're probably only going to get to one giveaway now because we don't have a ton of time. But what I'll do for everybody who's not an Apple user, after the update training, before we go into Q&A, I'll do another giveaway specifically for people that are not on Apple, okay? But I'm counting on all of you to be honest about the fact that you subscribed, rated, and reviewed, and then come back in here, and I'm going to randomly give away one of my Freightpreneur t-shirts so that you guys can flaunt this. You can wear it wherever you go. Or you can use it as a dust rag. I don't really care what you do with it, but that would be up to you. So, but today is a very important live. I do want to stress the importance of this, that you guys stick around for the whole episode and stick around to the end if you have questions, because there's a lot of information here. I've got a lot of notes. Again, if you looked at my notes here, these are notes I typed up, and then afterwards I put a bunch of marks on them for things that I want to make sure I cover because it's very important for you guys. All right. All right, so we're only going to do one giveaway. So we've got about another 60 seconds for you guys to subscribe on Apple. Pull out your iPhone right now. I know there's more iPhone users that are watching this right now. Don't try to BS me. I know that there's more iPhone users. So try to pull out your iPhone right now, pull up the podcast app, subscribe, rate, and review to the Freight Broker Bootcamp podcast. All you got to do is do a quick search for Freight Broker Bootcamp, or you search Freight Broker and it'll come up probably as the number one result. And then you just subscribe, rate, and review, and you're done. Come back in here, let me know you did that, and you will qualify for the giveaway. Okay. All right, good. So let's jump into the giveaway real quick. Let me grab a drink, and then we're going to do the giveaway. All right. I look very red right now. I feel like, I did get a lot of sun yesterday. I'm wondering if that's the lighting or me. Let's see real quick. Let's see if I can adjust the lighting really quick. Sorry. I should be able to adjust it from my phone here. Hold on. Nope, that's not better. That's worse. Okay, that's not bad. All right, cool. All right, guys. So here's where we're at. We're going to do the giveaway. Ready? I have a very non-technical way of doing this. I scroll up to the list of people that have subscribed. I close my eyes and I randomly scroll down through, and then I randomly pick one person. And today's winner is Sean Lemansky. Sean Lemansky. I think he's been entered in like all of these giveaways because he's wanted one of these Freightpreneur t-shirts, something fierce. So Sean, you are the big winner for subscribing, rating, and review on Apple. Thank you so much. Here's all you got to do. You probably already know. Go to my Freight Broker Bootcamp Facebook page, like the page, and then message me with your full name, your full address, and your size. And let me know that you won the Apple subscribe, rate, and review t-shirt giveaway. You got to let me know all that. Do that in the next 24 hours. I will get that shirt shipped out to you in the next week or two. And I appreciate everybody who played along. All right, whether you're on Apple or not. Again, for the non-Apple users, we don't have enough time to do another giveaway right now. I won't get it done. I know it. So we're going to push that till after the update training, but before the Q&A. So if you stick around for the update, on the end of that, between the update and the training, I'm going to do another giveaway for everybody and anybody else who's not an Apple user. As a matter of fact, Apple users will be able to participate too, but you don't have to be an Apple user to participate, okay? So, by the way, as far as the Apple podcast goes, I don't know if you guys realize it or not, we've been ranked in the top 100 podcasts out of all entrepreneurial podcasts in the entire Apple ecosystem. Now, there are tens of thousands of podcasts in that genre, the entrepreneur the business entrepreneur genre on Apple. And we've been ranked in the top 100 out of all of those podcasts. So I'm grateful for everybody that has subscribed, rated, and reviewed. If you're enjoying the podcast, let us know. Truly appreciate it. Again, we do 2 new episodes every single week. It's absolutely free, costs you $0. And it's some of the best audio training that I've done in the last decade, including interviews, including, trainings, including webinars, including coaching calls, including Q&A. It's got a whole variety of different things. Some episodes are 3 minutes long. Some episodes are 30 minutes long. Most of them are usually less than 10 minutes. Okay. So it's a real bite-sized piece that you can take in every single day or every, a couple times a week when we release them. But again, congratulations to Sean Lemansky. Thank you, everybody else, for playing along. Greatly appreciate it. And again, I hope you guys did enjoy your 4th of July. It's not something to take for granted, which is the freedom that we have in this country, even though it seems like those freedoms are under attack from time to time. I still don't want to take that for granted, and I don't think you should either. So I hope you guys enjoyed the holiday. I know I did. We went to some parties. We had some downtime. I got a little sun yesterday, as you can see, laying out in the pool and cooking out. And so I'm excited today because today is a very important, topic that we need to cover. And I want to try to clarify any misinformation about this whole AB5 legislation and rule that's coming down, right? So that's what I'm going to dive into. So we've got a bunch of people that are joining us now because the actual training, the actual Freight Broker Bootcamp Live doesn't officially start until noon. For those of you that joined me early, thank you so much for playing along. I hope you guys enjoyed that. And I know we've been I've probably given away, I've given away a lot of these. I've given away well over 100 of these shirts. It's probably going on a couple hundred now over the last couple of years. And people seem to enjoy them. I also will give away cash from time to time. People love that too. So who knows? Maybe I'll give away cash. Maybe I'll give away another shirt, whatever the case may be. So in any event, we're going to let some more people get live. But in the meantime, here's what I want you to do. For those of you that are live right now, hit me up in the comments with the city and state that you're logging in from. Let me know the city and state you're logging in from. I'm in the Buffalo, New York area. Specifically Clarence, New York, which is a little suburb just outside of Buffalo. Let me know the city and state you're logging in from. Hit me up in the comments and give me a heads up where you guys are coming in from. Love to hear from you guys. It's not uncommon for us to have people on a variety of different continents, and countries, Canada, North America, Mexico, South America, people from Africa, people from Australia, UK, Ukraine, all over the place. I mean, we have people, Central America, people from all over the world that join these lives from time to time. So I'm curious where you guys are coming in from, and I'll try to give you a quick shout out. We've got, holy cow, we got a whole bunch of people. All right. What do we got? We got BA transformed from Richmond, Virginia. Faith Crawford from Minnesota. Penny Mathis from Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. I was just there on spring break. Load and Go Logistics from Tucson, Arizona. Brenda Pinkerton from Franklin, Tennessee. Gus Pirelli from Venezuela. Amazing. Love it. STEVE 1987 from San Antonio. Julian Buggs from Greensboro, North Carolina. Rayford Dodge from Dallas, Texas. Bryant from Illinois. Kella. Oh, geez. I just blew it here. I just ran my mouse way too far. Kella Velasquez from Cape Coral, Florida. Devin Coleman from Markham, Illinois. Crystal Smith from El Reno, Oklahoma. The Unstoppable Mace from Folsom, California. Russ 918 from Tulsa. Cynthia Moore, who always joins live from District Heights, Maryland. Faith Crawford from Mount Laurel, New Jersey. Sugar Plum from Daytona Beach. LD from Maryland. Cynthia Edwards from, well, I think I lost it there. Where are we? Sorry, I lost it. Hold on. Cynthia Edwards from Pomona, California. Trucking Simple from Phoenix, Arizona. Willie Brown from South Carolina. Ashraf, hello. Jesse Vargas from Sacramento. Tej Sethi from London. He's in UK, London currently. Thank you for joining, Tej. Love to hear from you, buddy. Andy Freitas from Fontana, California. WG Bailey from Elmont, New York. Atif from Dallas, Texas. Toya from Detroit, Michigan. Ashraf from Brooklyn. Michael from Hesperia, California. Mark from Louisville. Trevor from LA. And Frank Navarro from Miami, Florida. Thank you so much for joining me. Truly appreciate it. For those of you that are joining me for the update, the very important update today, I'm going to be sharing with you the details around, will AB5, the new AB5 legislation, cause the trucking industry to collapse? And I'm going to share with you 4 key takeaways, okay? I've done hours of research on this to try to simplify this for everybody and to try to give you this in about 10 or 15 minutes, what took me several hours to try to actually research so that I could get rid of all the disinformation and find the facts, okay? Because there's a lot of story, a lot of sides to every story, and they're not all true, unfortunately, especially when you're looking online, right? So it can be very confusing. So today, I've got a lot of notes to cover about this whole AB5 legislation that you guys have been asking me about and concerned about. And I have a lot of answers for you. Hopefully I have all the answers, but I doubt that. I'm going to try to fill in the blanks for you and bring you up to speed. And then, so here's the format. We're going to do the update training. Then we're going to do a quick giveaway, okay, a free giveaway. And then we're going to jump into live Q&A for everybody who sticks around to the end, okay? So if you stick around to the end, we'll do live Q&A. You can ask questions about AB5. You can ask questions about, but by no means am I an expert, but you can ask questions about AB5. You can ask questions about becoming a freight broker or a freight agent or anything in between, and I will gladly try to answer your questions at the end, all right? And we'll do those live. All right, so today, I'm going to share with you some very important information. And again, the big question on everybody's mind here, give me 1 second here before we go live, or before I hit that really quick. I want to make sure that I have this correct. Okay, so today, what I'm going to share with you, the update is, and the question at hand is, will the new AB5 rule and legislation cause the trucking industry to collapse? All right. So we've got a lot of information to go over here. I'm going to cover 4 key things. Number 1, what is, what are the facts and what is the new AB5 legislation, the new AB5 rule? What is it? Number 1. Number 2, what is the reason for the new AB5 legislation? What caused this? What's driving this new rule? Number 3, who does it affect? Who is this going to impact in the trucking industry and outside of the trucking industry? And then number 4, what happens from here? What can you do from here? What's the next step? Okay, so those are the 4 things I'm going to cover today. Let's take it from the top. What exactly is AB5? AB5 stands for Assembly Bill 5, which establishes a new rule or a new set of rules and a formula to determine if a person should be classified as an independent contractor or an employee. Okay? So that's really what it does. Now, in order to be determined as an independent contractor, you have to pass 3 primary components of this rule. There are 3 questions you have to answer, right? So the number 1 question is the person working free from the employer's control and direction, right? As an independent contractor, are you operating free of control from the employer's control and direction? That's very important, right? That's number 1. So they're not determining what time you come to work or when you take breaks or, very specific details like that. As an independent contractor, you should be able to come and go as you please independently, right? So that's number 1. Number 2, performs a service that is outside of all places of business, the enterprise for which such service is performed, which means if you work inside the office of another business or inside the physical location of a business, you are not an independent contractor based on this rule, okay? So if you operate inside of their location, inside of any of their locations where they perform their core service, then you are not an independent contractor based on this rule. And then number 3 is customarily engages in an independent, established trade, occupation, profession, or business. What that means is, in layman's terms, basically that you as an independent contractor cannot provide the exact same core service that the actual business or employer does. So perfect example. Let me give you an example as it directly relates back to the trucking industry. So there are many trucking companies out there that have employees that are drivers, right? These are W-2 employees, and they get paid based on employee laws and rates and wages determined by their state and government. But there are a lot of trucking companies that hire leased on drivers. So they will lease on a driver who probably either has a truck or is in one of their trucks, whatever. Usually they have their own truck. They will lease on a driver and make them an independent contractor. Now, with this new legislation, those leased on drivers are directly in the crosshairs of the government that's trying to implement this new AB5 rule. And those independent contractors that are leased on could potentially and are likely going to lose their jobs as leased on drivers to these trucking companies. So that's a perfect example of how that rule applies. Previously, leased on drivers were totally legal and there was no issues with that being an independent contractor. But this new AB5 ruling and legislation is causing a lot of disruption, particularly in the trucking industry. And so I want to clear up some confusion. So that's number 1. Number 1, AB5 is a new formula, a new set of rules and guidelines for classifying independent contractors versus employees. All right. All right. Number 2, what is the reason for AB5? Why did states like Massachusetts and New Jersey and California, particularly most recently, implement this AB5 rule? Well, the fact of the matter is AB5 is all about money. Okay. To me, in my opinion, it's all about a money grab for the government, right? For state and federal government. And here's why. Statistically, 63% of sole proprietors, like those independent contractors, like the leased on drivers, statistically, 63% of sole proprietors misrepresent their income, while only 1% of W-2 employees misrepresent their income. So what's happened is this. I need you to lean in and listen here very carefully. States like California realize that by having all these independent contractors and sole proprietors, it's costing them tax revenue. And so what's happening is California, what's really driving this whole thing, in my opinion, is the fact that California has stated that they are losing an estimated $7 billion a year in tax revenue based upon these independent contractor guidelines that have been in the past. And that's the reason why they've implemented this new AB5 ruling. Now, that law was passed in California. It's also passed in Massachusetts and New Jersey. And so at this point, this ruling is going to be implemented across the boards. And so you need to understand that's what's driving it. Ultimately, it's a money grab, in my opinion. The governments are broke. California is in debt. All of these states are in debt, and they're clawing in to any place they can. But in this case, particularly small business owners, right? They're really trying to hit the small business owners. In the last decade, the whole gig economy has become a big deal, where people are freelancers and independent contractors and small business owners. And the government, unfortunately, doesn't like that because they feel as though it's costing them tax revenue. So that's number two. Number three is, who does AB5 directly impact? Who does it affect? Well, I already explained to you a couple of things. Number one, I want you to understand who it doesn't affect. It does not affect owner-operators or freight brokers that are getting their freight directly from brokers or shippers. So if you are an owner-operator, okay, and you have your own authority, and you are your own business, and you are your own carrier, even if you only have one truck and one driver, AB5 does not impact you. You are not what they would consider an independent contractor in this case. You are a business owner. Okay, so there's a difference. As an owner operator, this ruling is not going to affect you. There's a lot of misinformation out there online about that. So as an owner operator, if you're a freight broker or an owner that uses owner operators, this is not going to significantly impact them. If you're an owner operator, this is not going to put you out of business. All right. It's also not going to affect freight brokers, because freight brokers are business owners. We're not independent contractors. So I want you to understand that. That's very important. Who does this affect? Particularly in the trucking industry, the people that are in the crosshairs, which I just shared with you a few minutes ago, are leased on drivers. Drivers that are leased on to different carriers who have their carrier authority as a way to help facilitate the transportation services that they provide. So those leased on not owner operators, but leased on drivers are the ones who are very likely to be affected by this new legislation, by this new rule. Now, right now, the legislation is only in California, New Jersey, and Mass, to the best of my knowledge. But there are other states that are lobbying and moving and positioning themselves to pick up this same sort of ruling or similar ruling that could have an impact on leased on drivers. You know, the other part outside of the trucking industry, who is this going to affect? You know, this is going to affect the gig economy, people that are freelance graphic designers and Uber and Lyft drivers, like ride sharing services, health aides, even salespeople in some cases, right? So there's a variety of people that this is going to impact, not only in the trucking industry where I explained to you, but also outside of the trucking industry. Because again, what the government's trying to do, California, New Jersey, and these other states, they'll position it as they're trying to protect workers. But the reality is it's a money grab. Okay, that's the facts. Sort it out yourself, but I looked at it. And while I'm sure there are some politicians and government officials that have good intentions, this is all driven by money. It really is driven by tax revenue. All right. So that's number three. And then number four, what happens from here? All right. So here's what you have to understand. As a business owner, as an entrepreneur, as an independent contractor, or even as an employee, you have to learn to adapt. So the fact is, here's what's going to happen. There's really a couple different scenarios. Some of the people that are affected in the trucking industry, like the leased on drivers, are going to go out and get their own authority and become their own carrier because they already know a lot about the business. And if they can afford to set up their authority and get some trucking insurance, then they're most likely going to migrate over into their own authority. No problem. That's not going to significantly impact trucking capacity. That should be a positive. Number two, some drivers will actually convert over and become employees. Some of the companies they're working for as leased on drivers will offer them a job as an employee, and they'll become an employee of that company. And that will obviously satisfy the ruling. They'll no longer be an independent contractor or a leased on driver, but they will stay in the workforce as a driver. Number three, some of these leased on drivers will decide, hey, I don't want to be in the truck anymore. I'm going to become a freight broker. I already have the knowledge. I've already got a lot of knowledge, a lot of skills, a lot of contacts. Why not just pivot over, get my freight broker authority and become a freight broker and leverage everything that I've learned and learn some new things and make a living that way, still becoming independent. And then last but not least, some drivers will seek employment in other industries, right? We are going to lose some drivers to this ruling. There's no question. But here's what I say. The bottom line is, while I do not agree with the AB5 legislation, I am totally against it. I do not agree with the AB5 legislation because, again, for me, it's just another way for the government to fill their tax coffers. And I'm not down with that. All right. But I also don't think that the sky is falling. And I don't think this is going to collapse the trucking industry. You can read a lot of headlines out there on social media or otherwise that make it sound like the trucking industry is going to collapse. The fact is that's not going to happen. And so what you have to understand is that the large carriers that are using this leased on approach, large and small carriers, are going to adapt. They're going to make changes. Here's the good thing. This is an opportunity in my eyes for freight brokers and lean in, because here's why. Because if trucking capacity does get tighter and there is this disruption in the trucking industry, that makes freight brokers more valuable to shippers because it will become increasingly harder for shippers to cover their loads. There's been an ongoing driver shortage in this country. It's been well documented. There's a driver shortage. If this increases the driver shortage, this makes you as a freight broker more valuable to those shippers because it makes their job harder. Now, the fact is, it may have an impact on rates. It may or may not have an impact on rates. Rates may go up. But as a freight broker, rates going up should not have a huge impact on your business, because the reality is, if your rate to the shipper goes up and your rate to the carrier goes up, you're still just making a middle. You're making a 10 to 20% margin, regardless of where rates are. So I see this as an opportunity for freight brokers. Now, I feel horrible for everybody who's in the trucking industry, particularly leased-in drivers that are going to be impacted by this. But you have some decisions to make. You can go out and get your own authority. You can become an employee of that company. You could start your own freight brokerage, or you could seek employment in another industry. The fact is, there are options. And I want you to understand that if you are curious about becoming a freight broker or a freight agent, right? Or maybe you're a leased on driver and you want to continue your education, leverage the knowledge that you have and the contacts you have, and you want to become a freight broker. Check out freightbrokerbootcamp.com, right? We've trained over 10,000 students, been in business over a decade, and we offer a 60-day, 100% unconditional money-back guarantee, okay? So you guys can check that out. Make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe. Truly appreciate you guys being here, and I hope that update made sense for you. All right, so that's the update about AB5, right? Those are the 4 key things I want you to pull and take away from the AB5 ruling. This is very important that you understand this. The most important takeaway here that I want you to understand is that the trucking industry is not going to collapse because of AB5. Are we going to hit a speed bump? Sure, absolutely, no question. We are going to lose some drivers, particularly drivers that are leased on, but it's not going to impact owner operators. It's not going to significantly impact freight brokers. And it's going to actually, in my opinion, increase the value of good freight brokers in the industry. So there's an opportunity there. So you can look at this as a negative or a positive. Again, I don't agree with the legislation. I totally do not agree with the AB5 legislation, but I don't have any control over that, right? I have such limited control. I guarantee you, I live in New York, and I can guarantee you that New York is going to be one of the next states to implement this. Look at the states that did it: Mass, New Jersey, and California, the most liberal states in the country. And New York is right up there. So we're probably going to be next. right? So there are going to be other states that are going to adopt this, but you have options, right? And I want you to understand that. All right. So I hope that makes sense to you. Hold your questions. Do not start typing your questions in yet. Hold your questions because I promised I would do a giveaway real quick. Another giveaway for people that weren't able to participate in the Apple Podcast giveaway that I did. I gave away a free shirt to somebody, people that subscribe to the podcast. So here's what I want you to do. Here's all you got to do in order to qualify for this giveaway. Go to this YouTube channel, youtube.com/Freight Brokers. That's my YouTube channel. We got over 40,000 subscribers. We've got over 130 free training videos. Here's all you got to do in order to qualify for this giveaway. I'm going to give away another shirt, another Freightpreneur shirt, someone who solves problems you don't know you have in ways you can't understand. Here's all you got to do is go to the YouTube channel, click subscribe, and then click the all notifications bell. There's a little bell that'll pop up for all notifications. So you got to subscribe and click the all notifications bell. And then all you got to do, really simple, come back in here to the comments and hit me up and let me know that you subscribed and hit the all notifications bell on YouTube. If you let me know that, YouTube, subscribed, and all notifications, if you do that, you hit me up in the comments, you are going to qualify for the giveaway, right? And I'm going to pick one winner to win the shirt. All right. But now you got to be in the United States. You can't be, unfortunately, you can't be in Venezuela like one of our visitors. You can't be in California like someone else. You can't be in the UK like Tej Sethi. But if you are in the United States, you qualify for the giveaway. All you got to do is subscribe, right? Click the subscribe button, hit the all notifications bell on YouTube, come back into the comments and let me know. All right. So Penny did it. All right, awesome. Let me know that you subscribed on YouTube and you hit the all notifications bell and you are going to qualify. Sugar, Pilar Garza, done doesn't work. Done doesn't mean anything to me. I gotta make this fair for everybody. You got to type in here, if you YouTube subscribed and hit the all notification bell. That lets me know that you did it. Anybody who says done or I did it, I can't pick you as a winner. So I know it seems petty, but number one, you got to follow instructions. Number two, I have to know exactly what you did. And it doesn't matter, because I get all kinds of comments in here from people that are just randomly putting comments out there. If you have to put in here, subscribed on YouTube, hit the all notifications bell, and that is what's going to qualify you. Okay. So we got a bunch of people that are following instructions. That's good. We got a bunch of people that are subscribing. That's awesome. I'm going to give you about another minute. And then here's the cool thing. We are going to do live Q&A. So stick around because we're going to do live Q&A. The cool thing about live Q&A is not only do you get your questions answered, but you get the answers to questions from other people in the audience that you forgot to ask. Or maybe you're not at that stage of the business and you're not ready to ask, but you get to learn in advance from the questions of others. It's not just always answering your question, right? We always get a ton of questions, and I'm going to get more questions than I can answer today. But the fact is, live Q&A is probably one of the most valuable components of these lives. Okay. So, all right. So we got a bunch of people subscribing. Love it. Love it. Love it. All right. So we're going to 30 seconds more. We're going to do the giveaway and then we're going to jump into live Q&A. Okay. So hold tight. All right. So the countdown here. All you got to do is go to the YouTube channel, youtube.com/Freight Brokers, or if you're on YouTube, just search Freight Broker Bootcamp. You'll see my bald, shiny head. You'll see the channel, and all you got to do is subscribe and hit the all notifications bell, and you'll get notified. I do a live every week and then a new training video every week, at least one to two a week. Hit that channel, so you'll get notified. You'll be the first to know when that goes live. Okay. All right. So we got a whole bunch of people that have subscribed. All right, cool. So I am going to, I keep this it's not very scientific, but it works. I'm going to scroll through the list of people that have subscribed, and I'm going to randomly pick one person. All right. And then that person is going to be the winner of the Freightpreneur t-shirt. And the winner is, Nope, that someone the wrong. They didn't. It was someone who didn't follow directions. Let's see. Okay, here's the winner, Evie Agaukin. I'm sure I murdered your last name. I apologize, but Evie, you are the winner of the Freightpreneur T-shirt. Here's all you got to do, Evie. You got to find the Freight Broker Bootcamp Facebook page. Go on Facebook and hit me up on the page with your full name, your mailing address, and your size. Let me know your size, okay? So your full name, your mailing address, and your size, and I will ship one of these shirts off to you. You'll get it in the next couple of weeks once it's processed and made. So appreciate it, Evie, being here. All you got to do to claim your prize, go to the Freight Broker Bootcamp Facebook page, message, like the page, and then message me your full name, your mailing address, your size, and let me know that you won the YouTube subscribe t-shirt giveaway. That'll give me a quick reminder as to what you won, okay? So let me know that you did that, and I will make sure you get that shirt. Thank you so much. Truly appreciate you guys, everybody playing along. And let's get rid of the banner here. And now we are going to jump into live Q&A. If you got questions, hit me up in the comments. You want the shirt off my back, I'm sure. Oh man, I feel like you might be part of the California legislature. You want the shirt off my back, although I'm not in California, maybe the New York legislature, because I know they want the shirt off my back. It seems like every tax year. Okay. So let's start grabbing some questions. Thank you so much, CJ, for the kind words. Thank you very much. All right, so Sean jumps right into it. This is the thought that I had. Would the AB5 affect independent freight agents? That we do not know yet. It could potentially affect freight agents. They have not specifically mentioned freight agents, but it could potentially affect freight agents. Now, just so you guys understand, a freight broker, for those of you that are maybe new and don't understand, a freight broker is someone who is licensed by the FMCSA to broker freight, all right, to manage logistics and freight. So we are a licensed entity by the FMCSA. We are not going to be impacted by this ruling, right? But there are times when freight brokers hire independent contractors as agents, freight agents under them. So potentially freight agents could be hit by this AB5 rule. Now, here's the reality. In the event that freight agents are classified as employees, you're going to have a couple of choices, just like the leased on drivers. Number one, you can become an employee of that company if they're open to doing that. So it's going to change your compensation. It's going to change a lot of things. Number two, you can get your own freight broker authority, right? You can get your own freight broker authority and you'll be outside of this. You won't have this issue. Number three, you can seek employment in another industry. I mean, there are options, okay? But the fact is, you'll either become an employee, you'll get your own freight broker authority, or chances are you're going to seek employment outside the industry if it does impact you as a freight agent, and it could potentially do that. Now, just so you understand, right now, it's only in 3 states. So what Sean brought up to you right now only impacts you, really could only impact you if you're in California, New Jersey, or Massachusetts. Now, there are going to be other states that are going to adopt this type of ruling. I don't have any real insight into who those are going to be, but I can almost guarantee you those are mainly going to be Democratic states to start. And there may be some Republican states that follow suit because, again, this is all about money, people. It's all about money. States are broke. The federal government is broke. What do they do when they're broke? They tax. And this is just another tax, right? That's all it is. They don't like small business owners. They don't like independent contractors. They don't like the gig economy. And this is how they're trying to dig their hand in and fill their tax coffers. So good question. Thanks for asking, Sean. So here's a question from Devin Coleman. I'm wondering if a carrier can lease the equipment from an owner-operator while paying the driver a separate check. One check for the driver and another for the truck. Well, if we answer the 3 questions, the key is the government doesn't care about if they pay for the truck or not. The government cares about if the worker is an independent contractor or a W-2 employee. So in this case, if the leased on, now again, this does not affect owner operators, and there's some confusion with the language here. This does not affect owner operators. If you are an owner operator and you have your own authority, this does not affect you. If you are leased on to a carrier, you are not an owner operator. You are a leased on driver. There's a difference. Okay. And this is a confusion. If you're a leased on driver, what they can care about and what they're pushing is that you become a W-2 employee so that so that the tax money flows into their pockets faster. Okay. So as far as the truck payment and all that sort of stuff, I have no idea, right? That's something that the trucking industry and the trucking companies are going to have to figure out. But that is kind of a creative way. But I do want you to understand, you are not an owner operator unless you actually have your own authority, right? If you're leased on, that's different. So if you're a leased on driver, it's different. Because as an owner operator, you're operating under your authority. As a leased in driver, you're operating under the carrier's authority. That's the big difference. My favorite question, football player girl. Okay, awesome. You play football. That's sweet. All right. So is there a load board I can bid on? There probably are load boards out there where you can bid on freight. Now, I'm assuming you're talking about as a freight broker. If you're a carrier and you want to get your loads from brokers, then almost any load board, truck stop, DAT, or otherwise, you can get loads from. If you're a freight broker or a freight agent looking to get customers, I have never in my career, after meeting and training tens of thousands of brokers, okay, I've never found a broker who's built a successful business trying to bid and try to get shippers direct from load boards. Doesn't happen. There is no hack to you making this a business where you don't have to sell. You don't have to interface with shippers. You don't have to build relationships. It doesn't work that way. You are going to have to learn how to sell. You are going to have to do outreach. You're going to have to develop relationships. You're going to have to negotiate. You're going to have to do what it takes. This is a B2B business doing business with business, right? This is not eBay. Okay. It's not eBay. You're not going to just be able to go on there and just try to bid on loads. If you do, you're only going to be supporting the bottom feeding shippers that are focused exclusively on price, and you will never build a successful business that way. Point blank, period. Hope that helps, football player. All right, I already answered that question. Okay, so here's a question from Denai Myers. I live near a lot of shippers. Is it recommended to visit in person versus calling, emailing? The answer is yes to all 3. Let's think about it. The least effective out of those 3 is emailing. Even though you can touch a large number of people, it's easier for people to reject you and or ignore you via email. The phone and face-to-face are very close. The phone is very powerful because you can develop rapport in a relationship and you can touch a large number of people. You could make 100 phone calls in a day. The problem with face-to-face is you typically can't touch enough people, but face-to-face is by far the most powerful relationship developing tool. It's a lot harder for someone to reject you face-to-face. And it's a lot easier to build rapport face-to-face. So I strongly suggest you do all 3. I teach a multi-channel outreach approach where you use email, cold calling, LinkedIn, face-to-face, maybe even direct mail in situations. Okay. So I teach a multi-channel outreach strategy that will significantly increase the number of contacts you're making and the conversations you're having with those shippers, which in turn will increase your ROI. Okay. So yeah, I think that all those are good ideas, including face-to-face. If you can get face-to-face with somebody, it's extremely powerful. But the problem is you can't spend all day long getting face-to-face with two people, right? That doesn't work. Those numbers just aren't going to work for you. Okay. So you got to have a system in place where you're doing all three. Hope that helps. Good question. Thank you. So here's a question from Rajinder. Is it advisable that a broker with agents should be LLC? Not sure I completely understand your question. If you're a broker, then you already have to have your LLC or your corporation. Agents, if it's an agent and they have an LLC, what you're really asking is if an agent has an LLC, will it impact the AB5 ruling? And it may or may not. Again, having a contract like that may or may not impact it. Having an LLC like that may or may not impact. There are reasons why an agent may want to have an LLC. It really comes down to tax benefits as well as liability, right? Because if you have a limited liability corporation, your liability is limited to the assets of the corporation, and it does not extend to your home or your cars or your retirement or your bank account, right? It doesn't have personal liability. It's limited with the corporation. That's why it's called an LLC. Okay. So I hope that answers your question. Andy asked a question. What's the difference between the two freight courses available? There's not two courses. One is a gold membership where you get 1 year full access to the Freight Broker Bootcamp online training program and a set of bonuses that are included with that. The other is a platinum lifetime membership. One is 1 year, one is lifetime membership and support, as well as a whole additional set of bonuses that you get. It's the same training, but you get different components for being a gold member, which is 1 year, or a platinum, which is lifetime. The gold membership is $185. You get 1 year full access and support with a set of bonuses. The platinum is a $389 one-time investment, and you get lifetime access, lifetime support, and a whole slew of additional bonuses that are worth a hell of a lot more than the cost of the membership. Okay, so I hope that helps. Okay, so Rajinder asks, what are your thoughts on a new agent picking a niche that is tight on equipment currently in this economy? Okay, well, the benefits of choosing a niche that have tight capacity is that you know that shippers have more challenges covering their freight. So that's the benefit. The negative to it is that it's sometimes harder to find trucks when you do get loads. But what would you rather have? Would you rather have a shipper that wants to give you loads, all right, and you can source trucks, maybe it's a little bit harder, or where you have access to all kinds of trucks, but the rates that shippers are giving you are very low and you can't make money doing it? It's really kind of a trade-off, but I understand your question. The key is, there's several ways you can develop your niche. I'm not going to dive into all that: equipment, industry, geography, or you can do some sort of a hybrid. I would suggest in this case that if you're going to pick equipment, that you also pick some sort of geography so that you can limit the area that you need to focus on to develop carrier relationships. Because in this case, it's going to be very, very important. Let me give you an example. I just did an interview last week with my friend Rico Brown. Rico was a past student of Freight Broker Bootcamp. Has had his authority for about 1.5 years. By the way, he's paralyzed. He's a quadriplegic, in a wheelchair. And he built his business over the last 1.5 years where he was doing a few loads a week, or a few loads a month, to a few loads a week, to now last month he did over $20,000 in profit. Okay. He started his business focusing in on flatbed freight, using flatbeds, but specifically in the South Carolina area, in and out of South Carolina, right? Mainly outbound South Carolina. And his business is booming. He's got more customers and more freight than he knows what to do with. He's trying to hire people. Okay. So that would be my suggestion. I love the way that Rico honed in on his niche. And again, you can always expand your niche beyond that later, but you got to get some traction. It's better to be an expert in something than a generalist in anything, or everything, I should say. So I hope that helps. Well, Gus, brokers are not going to be impacted anyway. Okay. I've already explained this to you. Owner operators and freight brokers are not going to be impacted by AB5 directly, their business. Leased on drivers are going to be affected. Now, freight agents could potentially be affected, right? We haven't got a ruling on that yet definitively, but freight agents could be affected. Now, if you are a freight broker and you are in another country, well, then the government doesn't have any, US government doesn't have a whole lot of control over you other than through the licensing body that you are licensed under. So the FMCSA, I don't see them enacting some sort of a rule that has to do with taxes, right? That's for the states and government to do, based on the division that they're in. So yeah, I don't see it impacting you. Number one, it's not going to impact you as a freight broker. Now, if you are a freight agent in another country, that's probably the question you really wanted to ask. If there's a broker in the United States and you are a freight agent operating from another country, okay, it may not impact you, okay, from a tax purpose, but it might impact the broker because the IRS may classify you as an employee, even though you're overseas, and they may try to hook in what they want to really hook into the broker, right? So they're trying to collect tax revenue from the broker, but you're the flow through. So I'm not a lawyer and I'm not an expert on AB5, but I've done several hours of studying and I've been in business for over 25 years. So here's what I know. The government's going to try to do everything they can to fill their tax coffers. And right now, small business owners, freelancers, the gig economy, and independent contractors, like I've described here, their heads are on the chopping block, unfortunately. But there are options, okay? And I just want to be honest with you. Yeah. Let's see. Let me just keep scrolling through. I'm trying to find some good questions. Question. So Dennis, I'm getting ready to complete your freight agent training. At this point, what do you suggest? Now I'm confused. You're in Illinois. I suggest that you continue on with your game plan because right now, you're not impacted by it. So this is going to take years to flesh out, just so you know. This is going to take years because with California alone, just so you know, with California alone, they passed the law back in 2019. It didn't get officially enacted until just this month or at the end of June or the beginning of this month. Okay. So it could take years. Now, you as a freight agent, you could build your book of business over the next several months, the next 6 months, the next year. And then again, you always have these options. You, at that point, could become your own broker. You could get your own authority, right? You get your own broker authority, and now you're out on your own and you're free of any of these guidelines or any of these issues that AB5 impacts, right? So again, it may not ever impact you as an agent. You may live in a state where they never enact this law or this ruling. Okay, because it's a state by state ruling. This is not a federal law. Every state is controlling this individually. Right now, there's only 3 states that this applies to, but other states will probably join. So the reality is you got to kind of monitor a little bit. But my suggestion to you is if you're serious about this business, go out and build the business, get some customers. And then if the hammer ever falls where your state starts to enact this type of legislation, number one, you're going to have some time. Number 2, you can convert and pivot to become your own broker with your own broker authority. Okay, that would be my suggestion. Rico, I've already explained, I don't know if this is going to affect freight agents. Freight agents are potentially, if you ask those 3 questions, okay, it could potentially impact freight agents because a freight agent is providing the same services. It's the letter that ABC, right? There's 3 laws, there's 3 rules. It's the third one there that causes the issue, that a freight agent is providing the same service, core business, as the freight broker that they work under. So that becomes the issue. All right. So potentially freight agents could be affected by this, but it's only going to be freight agents. It should only be freight agents or brokers that are located in or domiciled in the states where that ruling has been in. Just so you know, New Jersey and Massachusetts have had this ruling for a while, right? And nobody even knew about it. It really didn't impact anybody. California is a huge state with, tons of tax revenue, and lots of people watch that. So California, you're getting a lot of press about it, right? So the fact is, it's only affecting those 3 states right now. So again, the sky's not falling. If you're an agent, you have time to build your book. You may never be impacted, but if you are impacted, you could always convert to become a broker. If you are a freight broker looking to hire agents, then you need to, number 1, look at where you're domiciled, and number 2, where you're recruiting agents. Okay. You got to keep the questions relevant to freight brokering, right? Brokering freight or AB5, right? I'm not going to answer carrier questions, or if you're a sales rep for, a trailer sales equipment company. I can't help you there, bud. Florida Living. How long would it take for a new agent to land a client? What's the cutoff point? Where is it just a no-go? There is no hard and fast rule there. I have students who go out and week 1 get their first customer, and start moving their first loads. I have others that are huge success stories that took 3 to 6 months or more to get their first customer, but they stuck with it. And then they got that first customer and they parlayed that into the second customer. And the next thing you know, they're doing 10, 20, 30, 50,000 a month in profit. Okay. So not everybody, picks it up right out of the gate. The fact is, I think most freight agents will probably take, on average, anywhere between 30 and 90 days to really start moving loads. Most are not going to get customers their first week, or at least they're not going to be moving loads. They may be quoting freight. They may be talking to shippers, but they're really not going to be moving loads for probably at least 30, 60, 90 days. So yeah, that's the reality. How do you broker containers from the port? Is it a different system for cargo from overseas? Yeah, so if you are a broker in the United States and you are going to handle just the port, where you're going to be moving the containers that come into the United States, and then you're going to bring them to the next to the final mile, to their destination. If you are going to focus in on that as your niche, you are going to have to find 2 groups of people. One is importers and exporters, people that are companies that do heavy imports and exports. So you can do your research there, find out who those companies are. The second group that you're going to reach out to is going to be international freight forwarders. So freight forwarders that are already, a lot of shippers will hire an international freight forwarder to pick up the product, have the product picked up in another country, brought to the port, and then it goes on an ocean liner, and then it comes into the US port, and then it goes on a truck to the final destination. So it's an intermodal movement. There's 2 trucks and 1 ocean vessel involved in it. So international freight forwarders will a lot of times handle that for shippers. So your customer will either be the shipper or it will be the international freight forwarder, because they have control of it. Now, international freight forwarders in many cases will outsource the drayage part, right, which is the trucking component, to brokers, just like they outsource it to carriers. What they're trying to do is they're trying to make sure the load gets moved, right? They don't have time to make 100 phone calls to cover that load. They've got to find and partner with people, whether they be carriers or brokers, to help do that. And the container niche can be a very, very lucrative niche when done right. So you're going to try to make a list of international freight forwarders and shippers that do a lot of import-export. All right, so hold on. Scrolling here. Kira Marie asks, will you offer another sales course soon? Okay. So I just wrapped up my last Freight Broker Sales Accelerator, which is a 5-week coaching program that I did. It's an online course and a coaching program that I did 5 weeks. I just wrapped it up last week. It's sold out again. This is like the third time in a row it's sold out. I will be opening up enrollment for a new Freight Broker Sales Accelerator soon. Now, soon is subjective. Here's what I'll tell you, it'll be in the next 30 to 60 days. I don't know for sure, but probably 30 to 60 days. Here's what you need to do if you want to have a chance to be a part of the Freight Broker Sales Accelerator. Go to freightbrokerbootcamp.com/FBSA. And what you're going to find is that is where people got enrolled last time. It's sold out, but if you click on that link, it will bring you to a wait list. If you join the wait list, you'll have a chance to be a part of the Freight Broker Sales Accelerator. You're not committed to it, meaning you're not required to, but you're going to get notified when I open up the next Freight Broker Sales Accelerator. All right. You'll be the first to get notified, and you will be able to get all the details and get enrolled if you choose to get enrolled. But if you're not on the wait list, the chances of you getting enrolled are slim to none and slims out to lunch. Okay. So get on the wait list. Otherwise, there's no chance you're going to get enrolled. Trying to make a decision between freight broker, freight dispatcher first. Will the bill include freight dispatchers? Good question. I put freight dispatchers in the same category as freight agents. There's a high likelihood that it will impact freight agents, but only in the states where this legislation has been passed: California, New Jersey, and Massachusetts. So, I think that if you answer those 3 questions that I gave you during the training there, the questions are: number 1, do they work free from employers' control and direction? Dispatchers potentially could do that. Do they perform services that are outside of all places of business that the enterprise for which that such service is performed? Chances are you're working from home as a dispatcher. Number 3, customarily engages in an independent established trade, occupation, profession, or business? No. As a dispatcher, you're providing a core function of the service that the business provides. So chances are, and I'm not a lawyer, and I don't care who you pay your taxes to. I don't care if you're W-2 or independent. The fact is, I would put an independent dispatcher in the same category as an independent freight agent. But if you are a freight broker, you are definitely excluded from AB5. Okay? Yeah. Took Rico a few months, but now last month, in the last 30 days, he did over $20,000 in profit. I think it was worth the wait. And I think he'd agree. Dennis, yes, there is a process. Does acquiring a first customer set up procedure like between broker and carrier? Yes. A contract is not necessarily required, but there is a process. You got to get up credit set up. They got to set you up as a vendor in their system for payment. They're going to request, proof of your authority or insurance or things of that nature. So yeah, there is a process. We teach that entire process in Freight Broker Bootcamp. Penny asks, would it be wise to start looking for work while you're training or wait until you complete the training to look for shippers? Yeah. As someone who's looking to become a freight broker or a freight agent, but you are not a freight broker or a freight agent yet, I would hold off on doing sales outreach. Here's why. Because let's say, for example, you reach out to a prospect and they ask you the question, hey, are you a licensed freight broker? Do you have your authority? Your answer is going to be, well, no, I don't have it yet. And you're going to hear dial tone. Okay. And you have now ruined the opportunity with that shipper because they now have a first impression that you are not qualified. Okay? So I personally wouldn't, but there are things you could do in the meantime. You could do research on your list or on your niche, right? You could start doing research on your niche. You could start calling carriers and let them know what your plan is, what you're doing. You could, you could learn how the load boards work. There's lots of training and things you can do in the meantime, particularly around niching, pricing, and carrier relationships that would be just fine. But reaching out to a shipper before you're a broker or an agent probably isn't, I wouldn't recommend it. All right, what time is it here? Oh my God, it's been an hour. I'm scrolling. Just let me find a good question here. Okay, I'm scrolling. Okay, so LD asks, should you take your regular course, the Freight Broker Bootcamp, before the Sales Accelerator? Okay, if you are not a freight broker or a freight agent and you're not actively moving freight right now, or you're not already enrolled in my Freight Broker Bootcamp course, I would strongly suggest you not take my Freight Broker Sales Accelerator. If you're looking to become a broker and agent, start with the Freight Broker Bootcamp. Okay. If you're already a part of that course, or you're already brokering loads as a broker or as an agent, I more than welcome you to join the wait list for the Freight Broker Sales Accelerator. Okay. Hope that answers your question. Good question. John, this is a good question. Can an asset-based freight broker, meaning you have your carrier authority and your freight broker authority, okay, use your freight broker authority for both? Also, are box trucks loaded from the same, found the same as long haul? Okay. So if you are an asset-based carrier and you have your freight broker authority, your question is, can you run everything through your freight broker authority to avoid this whole AB5 thing? I'm assuming that's your question. The answer is this: you can, but those drivers that are now, if those drivers are leased onto you, if I'm getting the question correct, if the drivers are leased onto you, they're going to have to go get their own authority, and then you can broker loads to them. Okay. So I hope that makes sense. It might not make sense to everybody, but if you are a carrier that has leased on owner operators and you're going to lose these leased on owner operators, or you're going to become an employee, I would suggest help them all get their authority, and then you can broker loads to them direct, and you still have all the freight moving. You don't really lose anything. So that would be my suggestion. Good question. Good question. Damien asks, this is a good question to answer. What happens when the shipper wants more credit? Okay. Well, there's a couple of options. If you're factoring, typically the factoring company is going to run credit on them and determine their credit worthiness and will assign a credit line. Okay. The factoring company a lot of times will do that because they're taking a risk. Now, if you are not factoring and they wanted more credit and you're paying the bills yourself and you're financing the payment to the carriers yourself and you're waiting on the receivables from the shipper yourself, you're going to have to run credit and determine their credit worthiness, right? If they're a brand new business and only been in a business for a couple of years, chances are they're going to have a very low credit line, $5, $10, $15, $20,000, probably small. If they were a large established company, then you can pull credit on them and you can understand how are they paying their other vendors, and you can assess the credit risk associated with that. At that point, you can determine, should I give them more credit? Should I not? Is it a good risk? Is it not? It's called risk management. Okay. And that's something you'll have to learn if you are going to be running credit on these shippers. Now, most startup brokers are going to be using some sort of factoring company, so you're going to get a lot of assistance. They're going to run the credit. They're going to do the risk management. They're going to kind of help you and work with you on that. If you're doing it on your own, it's something you're going to have to learn. It's an important part. Here's what you have to understand. Not all shippers get the same credit line. Not all shippers pay their bills the same. But just know that there are shippers that will go out of business in the next day, week, month, year, and you just want to make sure you're not left there holding the bag, right? So we've talked about that before. Thank you, Trucking Simple. Thank you so much for the kind words. I appreciate it. Abdul, I've already answered this question. I'm in California, AB5 going to affect us brokers. If you are a freight broker with a freight broker authority, you're an independent business owner, you are not an independent contractor, it is not going to affect you as a freight broker unless you have an agent business model where you are hiring agents underneath you that could affect you. But it is not going to change your freight brokerage's status as a business because you are not an independent contractor. You are not an employee. Okay. As a freight broker, you are a business owner. You are a corporation. You are an entrepreneur. You are not an independent contractor and you're definitely not an employee. So it's not going to affect any brokers anywhere unless potentially you operate with a agent business model where you're hiring agents as independent contractors that could affect them. Okay. So if you are operating under an employee model or you're a solo freight broker, or you've got a small family business with a few employees, it's not going to affect you at all. Okay. So the sky's not falling. Chill, everybody, please. All right, guys, so that's going to wrap it up for today. Here's what I suggest. If you have questions that I didn't answer, feel free to put them in the comments. I'll try to come back in the next week and answer those questions. But do me a huge favor. If you found value in this training, in this live, do me a huge favor right now. Like, wherever you're watching this, make sure you hit the like button. Share the stream. Hit the share button. Share it on Facebook. Share it on Instagram. Share it wherever you can. Most importantly, subscribe wherever you're at. If you're on YouTube or Facebook or wherever it is, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and share. It's the price of admission. This costs you absolutely zero to be a part of this training. And the way I gauge whether I'm going to do these future trainings is whether I get the right engagement. If I get lots of questions, if I get lots of likes, comments, and shares, it's the only thing I can use to determine whether you guys are finding value. So let me know. The way you can assure that I come back every week is to share the stream, like, comment, and subscribe. You guys have an awesome week. If you are curious about becoming a freight broker, okay, or a freight agent, again, I wouldn't be worried about being a freight agent right now because it's only in 3 states and it's going to take years for it to proliferate throughout all of that. So you can easily get started. Check out freightbrokerbootcamp.com. Trained over 10,000 students, been in business over a decade, and we offer a 60-day, 100% unconditional money-back guarantee. Check it out at freightbrokerbootcamp.com. Hope you guys have an awesome week. If you do want to get on the wait list for the Freight Broker Sales Accelerator, because it's on the screen, you want to be a part of that Freight Broker Sales Accelerator. Next time I open it up for enrollment, which will be the next month or two, make sure you go to freightbrokerbootcamp.com/FBSA. You'll be able to see all the details and you will be able to get on the wait list. Now, it's sold out the last 3 times. So if you get on the wait list, that's step 1. When I do open enrollment, you got to react quickly because it sells out. You know, sometimes it sells out in a day. Sometimes it sells out in 4 or 5 days, but it will sell out. I promise you, it sells out every single time. So hope to see you guys on the wait list. Hope to see you inside of Freight Broker Bootcamp. Have an awesome day. Have an awesome week. We'll see you next Monday at noon with another Freight Broker Bootcamp Live.